Hey guys, and welcome back to this Vocation. Today I'm here with Mrs. Erin Franco. She's a wife. She is also a mother of six children. And so I'm super excited to enter in this conversation. She's got a really awesome story um, that will really just inspire you guys. It's inspired me just hearing brief little bits about it. And so I'm super excited to jump into this episode. Thanks for being here today.
It's my pleasure, really. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So we're gonna just start with sort of like a nice zoomed out view of sort of who you are and where you're from, and then sort of get into the nitty gritty of your story and the way that God has sort of moved in your life and called you to where you are today.
Sounds wonderful.
So, Miss Erin Franco, where are you from?
I am actually from right here in Baton Rouge, about 10 minutes away. My parents still live in their house, and I grew up all in the Catholic school system. So I'm very blessed to be a cradle Catholic, and
Nice.
went all the way through St. Jude and then to St. Joseph's Academy for high school. And I ended up staying at LSU for college. So I was, except for about 6 years of my life so far, I've lived here in Baton Rouge.
Awesome. Cool. What did you study at LSU?
Actually, I studied marketing and
Oh,
communication.
cool, cool,
Yeah,
cool.
I've always been a writer and I wanted to do something with writing. So I started out in English and then I think like a lot of people, I kind of switched around. What I want to major in and switched around a few times. And then finally, I got some good advice that marketing and communications would be a great way to still use writing,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it might have more job options than maybe just teaching or things like that. So I landed at the mass comm school and I really loved it.
That's awesome. Cool. I want to jump into a little bit of your early childhood, and sort of. So you mentioned that you're a Catholic. Were your parents like were they pretty much into their faith sold from the start and telling you guys? And also, do you have siblings?
Sure, yeah. I'm the oldest of four siblings, and my parents are wonderful people. I think they've, like we all want to do, they've grown in their faith throughout their entire lives. I think a big part of growing up, we went to Mass every Sunday, and I went to Catholic school, and there was so much formation in that. But I actually had some non Catholic family members, like aunts and that kind of thing. And then my grandmother, who was Catholic, but very charismatic, is what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
So it was a very normal thing for us to go to grandma's house or go see my aunt, and they'd ask us how we were doing. Say, well, I have a big test coming up. I'm nervous about it. And Gran would say, oh, just come over here. She'd put her hands on me and close her eyes, and she would just go to town praying over me.
Wow, that's
And I
awesome.
always felt so loved. And, you're kind of, as a kid, you're kind of like rolling your eyes a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
oh, there goes Gran again.
Mm-hmm.
But she and my aunts, a couple of my aunts in particular, were so quick to pray over us like that and pray out loud in a way that wasn't like the rote prayers that I would hear in mass
Yeah.
and at school. And so I feel like I kind of have a heart for that in my own faith, praying over my kids or praying over other people and just using like real words to talk to God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad. I think it's really cool when people share experiences like that because we don't really think of these things being things that can get passed along. It's just sort of like that's who you are, but like who we are is what we've received from other people. I really love that you were able to, and that you now see yourself as like that's kind of who I am, right? It's like the one of the ways that I pray because I received it from those people. Awesome. So you said you grew up in Catholic school. I
Mm-hmm.
did also. I want to talk about that sort of experience and how that prepared you in your faith. Do you think that that was pretty adequate formation, or did you get that later in life?
Gosh, I would say, like so many things in life, the older I get, it's a both and.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, I
Very
think,
Catholic answer.
really, I would say, I think I'm going to get to heaven and like so many things, God is going to show me so many seeds that were planted that I have no clue of, even though I'm looking for them now as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely certain teachers that were so impactful and certain faithful friends from Catholic school really impacted my faith journey, different retreats that I went on for school as
Nice.
well. But at the same time, I was a college freshman at Christ the King at LSU before I ever stepped foot in Vocation
Mm-hmm.
or the Divine Mercy Chaplet, or really even gave John Paul II was at the end of his pontificacy. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was at the end right whenever I was kind of getting to college, and I really hadn't paid him much attention before then. I didn't know how awesome he was, that he was going to be a saint one day. And
Yeah.
so really was right, those couple years right before he passed away that I had all these very faithful, amazing, on fire Catholic friends who were like, John Paul is amazing. Like he wrote this and he gave us this thing called the theology of the body and
Mm,
all of these things. So I really had a renaissance of my faith in college. I would say that I
that's
didn't
awesome.
necessarily receive K to 12, even though I went to great schools.
Yeah, and I think that it's hard to sort of give that to kids in K to 12 because I mean, how much do I really want to receive that? Um, but yeah, just like yeah, being able to like receive John Paul II's writing like right then and there, that itself is awesome. Um, but also like that it was being received so well. Like that's such a cool experience for you to have that passed on by other kids that were sort of in a similar situation. To be like, you need to read this. This is like so rich.
Right. Well, I guess I will segue a little bit into my story. So before I got to Christ the King, and I said I didn't just suddenly get all of these awesome Catholic friends.
Yeah.
I really ran back into the arms of the church and was seeking a just faithful community and
Mm-hmm.
seeking my faith because right at the end of high school and the beginning of college, I had a really just kind of life-changing experience. I ended up doing some modeling.
Oh,
And
right.
about my junior year, I went on a trip with St. Joseph's to Europe, and we were in London, and it was me and a bunch of girls. And I was walking down the streets of London,
Wow.
just going, from shop to shop, and I had some modeling scouts come up to me, and of course, in their
That's
like
crazy.
cool British accents, they're like, "Oh my gosh, like, have you ever done any modeling?" Like, and all my friends were like, "Oh
No
my gosh, what
way.
is happening?" And of course, the mom chaperone who was with us like runs up and she was like, "You guys, you can't talk to her. We're leaving. Like,
Mm,
this isn't going anywhere." And of course, praise God for that. But it was still like I'd never thought about doing something like that. I'd
yeah.
kind of always been, I was kind of one of the honors kids and the smart kids. I was a pretty shy kid. I didn't really do anything that exciting in my life. And suddenly, getting really tall and thin and getting lots of attention in high school. And then I was the girl who got scouted in London on the Europe trip that year. It just kind of got me thinking, maybe I should do something like that. My parents have all these other kids to send to Catholic school after me. Maybe I could make some money and help pay for college. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out a few months later, I happened to be in New York City on a trip,
Uh,
and I got approached by modeling scouts on the streets of New York City as well,
that's crazy.
randomly. And so my parents and we really put some thought into it, and my parents prayed about it, and I prayed about it, and I think it ended up being the kind of thing where we did our pros and cons, and really one of the pros was I will always wonder what happened, like if I hadn't
Yeah,
tried
yeah.
it. And actually, I got this agency we were talking to. They were like, "We really think that you would have a New York look. We really want to send you to New York to go. Like, find a different agency up there and try to do some work up there." And I had some family up in New
Oh,
York.
nice.
So my parents were like, "Well, like we have family who lives up there. It'll be, that's a big safety thing. We're not just sending our teenager up there with
Yeah.
nobody for like plane rides away." So yeah, I spent some time in New York. I got an agency up there. Did rounds of casting calls. We rented a model's apartment on the Lower East Side. I think it's East, yeah, the Lower East Side, right by the Trump Tower, actually.
Wow.
That's how I need to go back to New York just to like look at it again. But I remember the Trump Tower was like right there next to our little bitty old
Eh,
4-story place that I lived
that's
in.
awesome.
But yeah, I did a little bit of work up there. Like, I think my favorite things were the fashion show. I think I was telling you about
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Got to dress as a fairy for that and have like a lime green hair, cool dress. And I did like some online catalog work.
Okay, cool.
But really, one thing about New York is in the modeling industry is there's a lot of rejection. So for
I
every
bet.
one job I got, I might go to 25 casting calls where I mean, I could walk into a room and they were like, they just would be doing their work, look up and be like, you're not what we're looking for. And I just waited 45 minutes to walk in the room and then just turned the heel and left.
That's crazy.
Um, and sometimes it wasn't as nice as that either. It was this is too much for us, or, you're not thin enough, or you're too short, or, looking for different hair, or
Mm.
even had people tell me your accent is too much. Your accent
Wow.
is too much. Yeah. They said you need to work on it if you're going to get work up here. You can't go around saying it all. Kind of a thing.
Wow.
So yeah, that was something different because really Baton Rouge is just small change compared to New York City, and
Mm-hmm.
you might be feel like you're a big fish in Baton Rouge, in your small town you're from, but you go up to New York City and you feel really, really small.
Yeah.
Um, and in the modeling industry, you also feel like you're just a number, you're just a face.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nobody in New York cared that I was a National Merit Scholar
No.
and took every honors class St. Joseph's offered,
Mm.
and I was on the liturgy committee, and I was got this award and that award. Um, I was just a face, an amateur for a
Mm-hmm.
show. And also there's a lot of dangers that go on with the modeling industry
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah.
Um, there were just a lot of situations that were not appropriate, that were dangerous in themselves, and I know that the Holy Spirit, for whatever His mercy and His plan was, really protected me. But I'll never forget, it was a long hard slog trying to discern what to do. Do
Yeah.
I stay modeling, or do I give in to the pressure of putting off college?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I go back to Baton Rouge, up in LSU? Do I get a degree and not pursue this?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I remember it wasn't working out with my agency. They just weren't sending me on the right kind of calls. They were taking way too much out of my paychecks, and some other
Yeah.
things were going. And so it was the summertime. I didn't want to go home and just quit and feel kind of like a failure. I didn't have a good reason.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I'm going to find another agency. And so I looked for an open casting call, which is when an agency is basically looking for new talent. And they're like, this Thursday morning for 4 hours, like, if you think you might be a fit, come in, we'll take a look at you, we'll talk. And so I found one for one of the largest, most famous modeling agencies in the world.
Mm.
They do a lot
Which is
of
that?
like, I don't know if I should say
Oh.
on a podcast or not, but I went in there and did their casting call, and I think I was sitting for 10 minutes in the waiting room, and I had a casting agent, like he was walking like down the hallway, and he peeked in the room at everybody, and he kept walking, and then he like stepped back and he double took, and I was like, who's he looking at? And it ended up he was looking at me, and
Eh.
he came back in, and he was like, hey, you. And I was like, all the other girls are looking at me like, sister over there is like, getting discovered. This is so annoying.
Yeah, yeah.
But I go in there, and the casting director takes me into a room full of other casting directors, and they're all like, oh wow, like, you have potential. Do you have an agency already? What have you done before? Do you have your comp card, which is like a card that I don't know if this is like more than 20 years ago. I don't know if mine still carry around like a print comp card, but
Yeah.
it's like just some shots of you and your measurements and stuff.
Oh, wow.
But they were asking me about that, and they were like, we really feel like you might have a for us. Like,
Mm.
we're pretty excited about you. We're gonna be honest here. But then one of the female casting agents was like, hey, like, guys, let's just talk for a minute. And they went outside the room, talking for a minute. And then she kind of like was like, hey, come here. And she ended up taking me down the hall where they had a scale down the hall, because in a normal office building you just have a scale
Yeah.
just hanging out in the hall, and
Eh.
she's like, would you just mind like stepping on the scale. And I was like, okay, yeah, you know, that's fine, whatever y'all need. And she was saying, okay, okay. So I'm standing on there. She was like, you really have a look. Like, we are really excited about you. But do you think you could come back and be about like here? And she pointed a little further behind down the scale. And it wasn't much, but it was like, a normal person maybe wouldn't come back in a week easily, losing that amount of weight.
Yeah.
But of course, in the moment, I was like, absolutely, yeah, like no big deal. I mean, I'll see you next week. That's not a problem, not a problem. And she was like, great, okay, we'll see you next week, okay?
Huh.
Uh, so
Wow.
I left. I left. I walked down the hall, waving at everybody, smiling at me. I walked through that room full of girls who were giving me like the side eye because
Yeah.
I'm the one that got discovered, and I have my head held high. I make it down the front steps of their building, and I walk down the street to get to the subway station. And I don't know, like a block or two down, I don't know what to call it. I call it like my met and white moment because I
Mm.
don't know what else to say. But all of a sudden, I just burst into tears.
Yeah.
And I really felt at that moment like it was a spiritual tears. And I
Mm.
felt God tell me, I made you for this.
Mm. Yeah.
And the way God talks, for me at least, it's always something really short and gentle, but there's a packed into it. And I just knew
Yes.
he had plans for my life that were not what it looks like. They were about what was in here and what was in here. And it was time for me.
Wow.
And so I decided then and there would not be, eating nothing for the next week and going back and starting a career with the biggest agency in the world.
Mm.
I decided I was going to call my parents that night and tell them that I was quitting for good. And I was going to head back to Baton Rouge and go to college, and I was going to just be done. And I just, and it was hard because everybody back home, when it's something like modeling, everyone is so proud of you. Like my grandfather would go tell all of his friends, my granddaughter, the model,
That's
and my
crazy.
friends would be like, oh yeah, my friend's a model. Like, and everyone's so proud of you. Like, you've done this big, great thing. Um, but and it's hard to just not really have a good reason, not be able to explain to people all the reasons why you really feel called to quit
Yeah.
to show for it. So that was really hard, and I felt a real peace about it. And I would say, I think it's Saint Ignatius, but it's this image that I read about a few years ago about discernment that I can remember feeling that way at this time when I said that yes to God. And it's where you just think about two decisions, and you think about like a drop of water just dropping down from the sky, and you can have, or you can have a sponge, and that
Mm.
water. And if the decision that you're thinking of feels like that drop of water is hitting a rock, and it kind of goes like ping, like pings off of it, and it's just kind of like sharp, it doesn't really just stay there, it just bounces off. That's usually a no to a
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
decision. But if it feels like that water drops into the sponge and just kind of soaks gently in, that's usually the right decision.
Mm.
So even if you're not 100% at peace,
Yeah.
you can kind of know. And
Oh, I
I
love that
do that a
example.
lot. Yeah, the last few years I've used that so much, but I remember that feeling looking back that moment when I quit because it was a sponge moment for sure.
No, that's awesome. I've never heard that, but I mean, like thinking, it just makes a lot of sense. Like the things that, like, what we want that are not necessarily aligned with like what we've been created for
Mm-hmm.
are like very much gonna just be like unable to receive like what's being poured into us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think that's really awesome. Okay, so you quit modeling, you're back home. This is when you go to LSU, right?
Yes, yeah, I went back to LSU and I just very hungrily was like, I've got to get into my faith. And this is little shy me, and
Mm.
I'm here on a podcast now, and I've done a lot of speaking and writing over the years, but I am actually like an introvert. And growing up, I was very shy, but I showed up to things online. Like I looked up like what's the calendar of events this week, and I just started showing up at things at Christ the King. I knew God had called me home, and I knew I wanted to go where He was, and
Hmm.
I needed people around me that were where He was. I just knew that I needed that community. I couldn't do it alone, and I didn't really have that in high school as much, and I knew that that's what I needed in college. So,
Yeah.
but I ended up finding this wonderful community over at Christ the King, and I think honestly it's only grown. I hear such good things about
Yeah, it's a really great place.
the place now. And it ended up that through one of these friends that I met, I ended up meeting Michael like at one of the free lunch things they do on Thursdays at Christ the King. Just very briefly, like I don't really remember it very well, but through this same friend, I ended up signing up to be a summer camp counselor at these camps up in North Carolina
Okay.
called Chasatonga and Callaway.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Love that
and
place.
I didn't. It wasn't even like a discernment to go to these camps and sign up. I was just like flashing red lights somehow. I heard about them and I was like, I'm supposed to go there. Like I have to go work there. That sounds
Yeah,
really fun. And they happen to need someone who does what I do. I actually rode horses growing up.
that's awesome.
And they needed like a horseback, a barn counselor. And
Wow.
so I signed up and I'm like, especially after last summer being in New York,
Hmm.
terrible, like, a lot of difficult experiences with men and like men my dad's age and
Oh,
just I need to just go be around girls all summer.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, I met Michael the first day of camp because
Eh,
the girl counselors and the boy counselors were doing a bunch of training together.
okay.
So I met him and ran into him again that first day of camp, and it just kind of went from there. It was a little more love at first sight for Michael, I think, but I came around pretty quickly. My friends
Wow.
told me to give it a chance, and I remember telling him after the first date, I thought Michael, like he asked me very properly to dinner, and we had a lovely time. And I remember I like burst into tears when my friends asked me later, second date with him, like how did it go? And I said, I think if I go on a second date with him, I'm gonna marry him. And
Eh,
I'm freaking out right now. Like I have a feeling
that's
after the
awesome.
first date, yeah. So yeah, here we are. 17 years later, we got engaged pretty quickly, like 9 months
Yeah.
after we met.
Did you guys have your date in North Carolina or not till you got back?
We did. So Michael was actually in charge, kind of did some administration at the boys' camp, and
Nice.
he happened to find out when my day off a week was, and so
That's
he ended up
hilarious.
be able to go on a date, each week, which is we always laugh at that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, our first date was like a dinner in the little town that the camp is in.
Okay, cool. That's really awesome. I love that. Um, well, yeah, that's a great story. I love that you said, and I feel like I've heard this from so many couples. He definitely had more love at first sight than I did, which I feel like is so true. But yeah, okay. So you guys get back to LSU. How does that sort of work?
Well, we were dating by the time we came back to school. And, for us, like we always share when we give talks about like our relationship and our marriage that both of us were still a little bit young in our catechesis.
Hmm.
Both of us were very on board and like we're gonna date God's way. We're gonna have the best, most chaste, awesome dating relationship ever.
Hmm.
But we really didn't know, like, what did the church actually teach? And like,
Yeah.
how far is too far? And like, theology of the body is great. We do that. We do that. But what is it exactly?
Hmm.
And so we picked up some books, or mostly I did, and I would highlight stuff for Michael, and I'd be like, before we go on another date, you need to read this. Um, which is also funny because sometimes I still do that to him, but he does it more to me now.
Oh, that's awesome.
17 years later, he'll be like, "You gotta listen to this podcast here," which is interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we kind of struggled a little bit, but really grew together in our faith, and we had a great community.
Mm.
I don't know how people um, try to live out church teaching for dating or marriage without community around them. Other people trying to do the same thing that you're trying to do, um, to commiserate with, to ask questions to, just to support you and celebrate you, what you're trying to do.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
the world certainly doesn't understand why you put yourself through, certain yeses and nos. And sometimes other friends and sometimes family don't understand that either.
definitely.
And so I'm so grateful for that community that we had together and cultivated together.
That's awesome. So how long did you guys get engaged when you were still in college, or did you not wait until?
No, I was a junior in college.
Oh, awesome.
We got
Cool.
engaged and I got married. I thought I was going to have graduated already,
Eh,
but I ended up having one semester left of college when we
okay.
actually got married. Um, Michael's a super senior. He's a little older than I am. So really, it's funny his story and my story because he should have long graduated LSU before I got there.
Oh, wow.
But because of his changes in discernment about what to major in and that kind of thing, he was still there when I was there.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love that.
yeah.
Cool. Okay, so you guys get married. What is it like being married and still taking classes, being in school? How was that experience for you guys?
Uh, well, that the first semester was pretty tough.
Yeah.
He also lived in another state, so we got
Oh, wow.
married, and then he moved actually to Texas. That was our little 6 year stint outside of Louisiana,
Yeah.
and I had to finish here at LSU, but it's only a few months in the grand scheme of things, and
Mm-hmm.
it was tough, but it's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Cool. That's awesome. I'm glad that yeah, that's a really cool experience because I feel like um it can sort of feel like, and I think that plays out a lot of what JP2 talks about of like what does chastity look like, what it like how do we sort of live this out, and like that experience of like this is something that is necessary, like he needed to move, I'm sure you had to stay to finish your classes, and so it's like there are things that like we just cannot do because of where we are,
Mm.
and like that doesn't make our marriage less, like we are just like choosing well for ourselves. I think that's really beautiful. I like that example a lot. Okay, so you graduate and then move to Texas.
Yeah, we graduated. Yeah, we both, after we were finally living together as husband and wife,
Mm,
like in January, because it was a fall semester I had to finish. Yeah, we moved to Texas and we did not know anybody. And so we did what we have come to do, which is we just went out and made friends through our parish. We volunteered with the youth group just
okay.
so we could meet people and be involved. And
Yeah.
we ended up meeting little community of other just a lot of single young adults and like newlyweds
Mm,
was our community, and we formed with another family what we call family dinner. And so every single week, it was at our house for a few years. Every single week on Thursdays, it was just an open door, open invite. Bring your coworkers, bring your kids, bring your whoever you want, but bring a dish of some kind
yeah, yeah,
and just
yeah.
eat and like have community.
That's
And
awesome.
we had this amazing our family dinner community. We still keep up with them today,
That's
years and years
awesome.
later. And that's a really neat part of our marriage, especially as we started having kids. We had 3 children while we were in Houston,
Wow.
our first three, and just getting to be around other people having children, and then especially like the young adult, like the single young adults that we were friends with too, for them to be around young families and good, healthy relationships, and for us to still be around them because sometimes you can get married and your only friends are people.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
we were blessed to not have that. We just had a great mix.
I want to talk. I really like that you brought that up because I feel like I hear from a lot of people like when you get married, it's sort of hard, especially like if you've left this place like CTK where you've had great community,
Right.
it's hard to sort of like find community. And so I want to talk about a little bit like how did you guys form that community? And I know you mentioned the youth group, but like what are ways that someone who's married and like maybe struggling to find community with their spouse, how can they sort of practice like trying to grow that?
Right. So I would say I would say you have to be willing to be a leader in friendship.
Mm.
I think that people, just because someone doesn't come up and be like, let's swap numbers right now and do something that's going let's have coffee. Like, just because they don't do that doesn't mean they're totally open to it. Maybe they're just shy. Maybe they didn't even think about it because they were busy. But I have found it served me so well to be a leader in friendship. One of my best friends in Houston, she was a newlywed and a new mom too. And I kept running into her in the back of church because I had a baby that could barely be taken into church either because he was too busy, and so did she. And I ended up one day she was having a hard time, I think, and I just went up and talked to her, and I was like, you know what, like, do you live nearby? Like, I have a really good cookie recipe. I can I bring you some cookies?
Eh,
And so I brought her some cookies, and we ended up visiting, and we ended up being great friends. And they were one of the families that came every single week for years to family dinner.
that's awesome.
So stepping out in friendship and being the first one to ask for that phone number, saying, "Hey, can I bring you cookies? Can we get coffee sometime?" That's important, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I guess another thing is like maybe if the person is, you had mentioned you're a little bit introverted, more like yourself, how did you get over that introvertedness and just like reach out? Because I know a lot of people are like, reaching out to people. No, I want to stay away from that. Um,
Well, I think I probably have parts of my temperament and personality that can kind of trump the introvert part of it.
hmm
Like, for example, I don't like to have anybody in a room that looks like they're not having a good time, having a good day. Like, I just have to go over and talk to them and just make sure they're okay or invite them in. And so that's part of my personality too.
Yeah.
But I also think I would call it like an apostolate of friendship. I think that we're all called to the apostolate of friendship. We're all called to say, like, don't put yourself in a box, like, oh, I'm introverted, I'm too shy, or
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
like that. We are all called to spread our net every single day. Like,
Mm,
we've all got a net of people in whatever room we're in, at work or at school, or even just in our own. People might be our kids day after day for years, like
yeah.
they were for me, in another season of life that would come later on. But yeah, just spread your net and listen to the Holy Spirit.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So Texas for 6 years. Um, I guess one question is like, what were some of the biggest things that you want to share about so we can get into those from that experience?
Yeah. So I know this is a podcast on discernment. And I'd say this first few years of our marriage, we were discerning when to start a family and when to be open to new babies. And
Mm-hmm.
my husband also changed jobs a few times. I actually started out working at a public relations firm in Houston, and we discerned to be a full-time stay-at-home mom after
Okay.
I had my second baby. And then we eventually, Michael actually worked at NASA. He's an
Oh,
engineer, and
wow.
he was hired at NASA to work at flight control, to train in flight control. And it wasn't actually the flight control program that he was supporting at one point. Like, there were tons of budget cuts. There was a new presidency at one point, and he kind of saw the writing on the wall, and he was like, I really feel like we need to pray about starting a business,
Mm.
um, somehow to provide for our family because I was home by then. And we discerned to start a business and ended up being a lawn care company. We
Oh,
did
wow.
commercial and residential lawn care, but all of that was all really hard. We were mostly really poor, um, and really
Yeah.
struggled. But God, I remember though, God is He's so good and so affirming. Because sometimes He's going to lead you to do things that don't make sense to mom and dad, or to your friends, or to your siblings, and they're going to be like, "How are you going to pay for this?" Or that sounds really crazy. But there was this one time we discerned to be open to a new baby, and I got pregnant with the baby. We did not have insurance at the time. Or
Mm.
we did have insurance, but it was so terrible because it was self-pay.
Oh, wow.
Like, we owned our own small business, that we had to pay so much money up front before a doctor would even see me. a portion of it
Sure.
ready. But we just prayed and like the baby kept growing and we just trusted God. And one day in the mail, like we hadn't told anybody anything, by the way. One day in the mail, though, we got like a cashier's check from somebody, and it was the exact amount we needed
Dang.
to be able to go see the doctor. Nobody could have known. The Lord put it on someone's heart to send us exactly this odd amount of money.
That's crazy.
And so we had enough money to go and pay in full for this baby and have all, like prenatal care and hospital care too, like
Wow.
paid for. Um, so it's things like that that really, really affirmed and helped us like learn the muscles of discernment. Like even if it
Mm.
sounds crazy or if the numbers are not adding up, like what are we hearing from God together as a married couple?
Yeah.
For all of our big decisions, pretty much, we have always gone to adoration about it. We prayed individually, then we talk about it. But we've really always tried to discern and really ask God what He wants, and not just what we want.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard with work sometimes,
Yes.
especially it's hard. It can be really hard to really trust God with your life like that.
Mm. Yeah. I feel like I hear a lot of stories. Like when I'm trying to trust radically and like the Lord's plan and things are like not working out and not making sense, and then all of a sudden like the check,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like what? And like people, I'm hearing that story and I'm like, that's awesome, that's amazing. And then there's like this whole aspect of like, but would that actually happen for me?
Right, right.
I don't know. And I think that that can even be like an aspect of like where can I grow my faith of like I know that the Lord worked for you and I know that he can work for me, and like even if it's like, okay, well, Lord, I'm in college. Send me a check. I need money. But it's like it's more than that. It's like you're in this moment of your life and he just there's like no way and it just is provided. Um and that's what he is, right? Just like a parent. Just like what can I give you that will get you by? And I think it's just awesome. Like you mentioned, no one knew but your father, right? And so he put it on someone's heart, and he's like, "Of course I know. I'm your father. Like I'm gonna give this to you." I think that's a really cool way to think about that. Um, okay, so I do want to keep talking about discernment, and I want to talk about what are some of the ways that you guys actively discerned as you began to move back from Texas.
Well, like I said, I've really never been bored married to Michael Franco. So we had this commercial and residential lawn care and landscaping company. And what actually spurred moving back was Michael had a pretty bad accident with a chainsaw on a job one day.
Oh
I
no.
was about 2 weeks away from my due date with this baby number three I was telling you about, and
Oh
Michael
my.
almost cut his left arm off with the
What?
chainsaw. It was terrible. And it
Oh
just talk
my.
about miracles though from it didn't hit the nerve it should have hit. Like it even to the hospital they lost all of the doctor, like they forgot to bill us for everything because again we had terrible insurance and we
Yeah.
paid for, and they like lost our, they just never billed us. And so now I know not to do this, but at the time I didn't, and I'm this sweet little mom with a newborn calling a few months later, and I was like, hey, we never got a bill for this, like I'm trying to do the right thing, I just need to let y'all know because we'll have to plan for this. And the lady on the other end of the phone, she was like, honey, let me go talk to the doctor, you just stay on the line.
Mm,
And the doctor had told her to just cancel it. Like the surgery, like the hospital, like he said it was taken care of for us.
mm,
Um,
wow.
yeah, and it was a Catholic hospital. And so I don't know what went on, but everything for Michael's arm, it was going to just crush us, like all the medical bills, like
Yeah.
just taken care of for us.
That's crazy.
However, he was out of work for a little bit of time, and actually my younger brother who had just gone out of college at that time, he came and stayed with us to try to keep the business going because Michael did most of the work himself still
Mm-hmm.
with crews and stuff.
Yeah.
But I remember there was this one day, it was a rainy day. You can't do any landscaping on a rainy day.
No.
And we're just sitting on the floor of our house in this, and I remember I said, Michael, I think we need to God's called us to this anymore. Like it's not working out. I really need to quit, you know. And he said, actually, I feel the same.
Mm.
And so we did some more discernment, of course, and talk to good counsel too. You always need, again,
Yes, yes, yes.
community, have some good counsel. Old people who are older than you, people who aren't going to always tell you what you want to hear, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But we got some as best counsel as we could, and we ended up deciding to sell the business. We were able to sell it
Nice.
back home to Louisiana.
Cool.
We did look for jobs elsewhere, but the only one that we discerned we were supposed to take was actually back in Baton Rouge.
Wow.
Um, so at the time, we were like, "Hey, mom and dad, my parents live here." And we were like, "Hey, can we just live with you for like a few weeks while we look for a house?" Well, a few weeks turned into 2 years. And we have
Wow.
three young children under four
Yeah.
with us, and we're living in a couple of rooms at my parents' house. And it was probably two of the hardest years of my life.
Mm.
It was really a hard time. However, we to this day have an awesome relationship with my parents. They got some serious snake points living with our young family, and my
Yeah.
husband actually like they love Michael, and Michael loves them. They're like second parents to him. So
That's awesome.
it was really beautiful, but you know, you get a few months in and you're like, okay, God, now my prayers are we need a house. We need, you know, the financial stability to do what is a good thing, which is have a place of our own again.
Mm-hmm.
And month after month, that didn't happen. And month after month, we're still getting on our feet. And once we started looking for a house, we just weren't finding anything and weren't finding anything. And it was those 2 years were really there's so many lessons learned in waiting on the Lord, but I think
Yeah.
one of them was he kept taking me back each of those Christmases to sometimes like trust me that a barn is best or a
Mm.
cave, you know, if you call it a cave where Jesus was born, but this is best for you. Yes, it's a good thing to have your own and have your chaos in your own four walls again, but this is best for you. Trust
Mm.
me. And of course, you know, at the end of it, like the timing is perfect and we find a wonderful house and it's more house than we could have dreamed of, except for at that very moment, like it became possible. Like his timing was perfect, you know, but
Yeah.
waiting on the Lord for months and weeks and years sometimes really, it's a hard thing, but it's like you kind of, like, I hope my kids have to do that because you
Yeah.
grow so much. You know, the Lord isn't like a candy machine where you like put in enough prayers or you just pray really hard for a short time and then he like spits out like, okay, here you go. Here's your blessing.
Yeah.
Here's
Yeah.
your yes.
Mm.
I always tell my
That's
kids
funny.
it's God answers our prayers and it's either a yes, it's a no, or it's a yes, but not right now. Or
Yeah.
a yes, something better, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's so true. And I think that it can be easy to be like, I don't really want this, like, Lord, like just give it to me now. And it's like, that like the whole naming behind this podcast, Veils and Vocations, is like there's a reality of like there's things that are coming to us in our life that like if we saw them we would flip out and like go absolutely crazy. And so like there's like the Lord veils things from us and then unveils them at the perfect moment, and just like like, right, I think I know it's super silly but like the tablecloth thing, like wait, and then glasses all stay on and like that's what God's plan is. It's like it's this perfect revealing of everything in that moment when you can receive it. And if it happened before, like me ending up here and Fran, you studying theology, if I had known that when I was graduating high school, I would have said, "Ha, yeah, right. No way." And it's like, but here I am, and he like unveiled that at the perfect moment. And so I think that like that experience is not something you're talking about it with such enthusiasm. It's like to lose that would be such a disservice. Like he is so perfect, and he knows like it might be tough and difficult, but the way that I'm giving this to you is perfect. And I think it's so fitting.